Welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. Today is 27th of September 2023. My name is Adam Rosman. I will be your host. Please note that the meeting is recorded. Usually we would start with introductions, but there are no new participants in the meeting, so we can skip that. Then on to the reminders. If you want to contribute to the project, please check the help wanted list. There are a few issues that you can help us with. Also, if you feel that your organization would like to have our project, and if you feel that you would benefit for adding yourself, your project, your organization as an official adopter, you can do it by following the link here and add your organization to the adopters list in the Metal3 blocks. And then if you see issues with the tests, then and you have access rights, please check out the flake tracker. And if you see some issues and you can't check out the flake tracker, it's a good idea to make an issue and in the repo where you experience it, and then add it to the Metal3 CI project, and then we will check that for you. And then on to the more up-to-date reminders. I see there is one from you, Dimitri, for last call for the outreach.
Yep. So that's it. The last call for mentors for outreach. We have the deadline until Friday. I have pondered myself and I decided I will not mentor myself this time. At least not as a primary mentor, because of how much I have to do. So if we don't find a mentor, we are calling off the participation.
Okay, thanks for the info. Is there anyone from the Ironic Scalability group who would like to give any updates? Maybe some updates.
Hi, there were like no major things in that group. For the fake IPA, as I have mentioned earlier, there were some comments that I have addressed. I was waiting for reviewers to check again. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thanks. And then the next one is next one is the discussion topics, and the first one is from Leonard, and this will be about the new BMO E2E tests.
Yes, what did I link that? I thought I had a different pull request there. I will update that link because that's just the pipeline. Not so interesting. Let's see. There, now is the correct link there. Yeah, so the idea with these BMO E2E tests is this. We already have tests, okay? We run on every PR, we trigger tests, but they do not focus really on BMO. They are all using CAPM3 cluster API. Of course, they exercise BMO also, but not in an efficient way. Like all these tests do almost exactly the same thing for BMO. Like what they do is basically we create the bare metal host, we inspect it, we detach it, we destroy it, we recreate it with status annotation, we provision it, we deprovision it, done. Something like that. Some tests have something more, some tests have something less, but in fact, they all do pretty much the same thing. So it's a very inefficient way to test BMO. So the idea is to get something more focused on BMO, more lightweight. Like this would be much easier to run because we don't need the full thing with cluster API and all that. we can test specifically BMO features instead of worrying about how to create a cluster and all that. Actually, I did this completely without the devenv because I don't really like the devenv. I think it is doing too much. It's doing all the cloning and building and deploying and everything, which makes it hard. I see, Dimitri, you commented there that we still need code to generate the VMs. That is true. I added a very lightweight script to do that for now. I think we could extend this in the future to get really a small library, let's say in Go, to do this in a better way. Adam, is it possible for me to share the screen a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could then show just in a few minutes for like the main ideas about how this works.
Yeah, you can share now.
Yeah, I will try to. How do I? Okay, let's see which screen is this. I guess you see the
Playground.
the playground, like the terminal.
Yes.
Okay, well, I will move the stuff over there then. So this is BMO repo checked out with this PR applied. There is a small README to explain how this works. It's inspired quite a lot by the Cluster API E2E framework, but adapted since we don't need the cluster stuff really. What that means is they have config files. So I created a config for BMO also. They look like this. Here is one config file for running with Ironic and one for running with the fixture provider. And the beauty is you can create these config files for your specific whatever you have, some bare metal lab or something. For now, the tests only have like BMC user password address, MAC address. I guess we will want to extend that in the future, but yeah, the test that is there currently is just inspecting one bare metal host. So this is all that's needed. How it works for CI is we start with this script. It just ensures that we have some tools installed. It builds the container image. We start Minikube. I chose Minikube because it was just easier to get the network set up because I'm using then the KVM2 driver, so it can sit in the same network as some libvirt VMs. So then I create network where I know the IP address of Minikube, run VBMC, create a VM, add it to VBMC, set the variables so I know where to find it, and then we run the test. So you can see that this would be possible to run in many different ways. Like you can set up your actual real cluster, deploy Ironic and everything if you want. If you saw in the config file, there was options to deploy Ironic or not. So you can choose to set it up yourself and then just run the test against it, or you let this one deploy it. When we get to the actual test, it will then, depending on the config, let's see where we are. Depending on the config, we will then use an existing cluster or create a kind cluster. That is not very useful right now, except for the fixture provider. But then, yeah, I guess you can see the idea that if you set up things yourself, you can just skip these things. Like we don't need to deploy Cert Manager or BMO or Ironic. How it deploys them now for the E2E tests is I just put in the config, I put an overlay, So there is a customization here to deploy with a specific config file, because I completely control the network. We can have this all static. We know that will be the exact same every time. That's coming from this CI E2E script. It's creating the network here, so we know exactly what it will be. Once we have that, where was I? I was in common. Once we have, no, I was in suit test here. Once we have that deployed, we can go on to run the actual test, which is so far very simple. It's just inspection test. So I added a few very basic tests that we create a bare metal host without credentials, then it should end up in unmanaged state. We should fail to register if the secret is missing, registration error, and then one actual inspection where it succeeds. And that's it. That's it for the tests. To show what it looks like, I can actually run the fixture test because that's really fast. So I have set here environment variables to use the fixture config, don't use existing cluster, and then make test. And that's enough to run the fixture test. For Ironic, obviously, it will take a bit longer with actual VMs. Yeah, I hope we can merge this and then move on to add more tests, and let's say by end of year or something like that, depending on how fast we work on it, we may be able to remove some of those like CapM3 or devenv based tests that we run normally on all the PRs, and then start using this instead. Any questions while we wait for this one? It will not take many minutes.
I don't have any questions. That's actually pretty cool.
Thank you, thank you. I hope it will be very useful like this. Right, I thought actually while we wait for that, I can show just the test here. So I have set up a pipeline that is testing it now. As you can see, I'm triggering it on this test. So let me open that so you see how it looks like. This is then the actual real one with Ironic running and everything. And it took, where do I see the time? 13 minutes for this inspection. So that's way quicker than any tests we have for now. And here you can see the actual should fail to register, should inspect. Yeah. The logs are also collected. So this is already implemented. If I open this one, there will be logs for BMO and Ironic. I guess it's this one. So they are already there and collected. So this should hopefully be very useful. Now I believe this one is done. Yeah. Once it actually deploys the BMO, then the test is very quick when it's this fixture provider. As you can see, like 90 seconds. These are sub-second tests. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Leonard. 1 second or 1 minute, and I will put back my screen. I'm just looking for something. Okay. Okay. So this was all the BMO E2E. Thanks, Leonard, by the way. It's very cool. And the next one is from me, if there are no other questions. So I know, I remember we had discussion and a long time ago, and we were discussing it quite a lot. But this week, I had some time to follow up a bunch of issues and read a lot about the different stuff that we are doing, or you are doing everywhere in the project. And what it's part this idea from me following the, by the way, this is about the ironic versioning and the ironic image versioning that's not in place at the moment, but will be in place in the future. So the thing is that whatever we do with BMO, it will always rely on the ironic image. And what's part a bit of thinking from me is that I've seen this PR that brings in a very cool new feature, and or actually we are moving away from the ironic inspector, which is all good, but then there was this discussion about that this is a new thing, requires new ironic API and so on. You can read it if you are interested. This is the name. Use ironic inventory API instead of calling the ironic inspector. And if there is a breaking change like this and we want to release the BMO, we can do it. It's all good. But if we release the BMO without a pinned and versioned ironic, of course, the build is not reproducible technically, because we create a release artifact and OCI image for BMO, for ironic image, and put it into the registries, but it's not reproducible at the moment, because we all know that the ironic image tracks the main branch of ironic. And of course, we agreed that this will change. But I was thinking that if we have a situation like this one, if I understand correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong, to use this feature in BMO, one would need the 21. At least the 21.3 of release of ironic. And in the future, if we would implement similar changes, at this point we would need to do a release for the ironic image whenever there is a breaking stuff in BMO, or even just some new feature that requires at least a specific version of the ironic image. So I was thinking that it might be not the best to limit ourselves to only like X number of releases of the ironic image in any period of time, because even things that might be relatively minor and backwards compatible in ironic, if we change how we use those in the BMO, that can be a breaking change in BMO. So even if something is minor in ironic, can have a bigger effect in BMO. At least that's how I see it. And if we want to release like dynamically, so whenever we need, because there might be a need for that, then I was just thinking that wouldn't it be better? And I know it was proposed before, and it was not accepted, but wouldn't it be easier to follow the stable branch? And I say I have like a reason why, because, and I might misunderstand it, but let me share another screen. You should see my terminal now. So I'm on the stable 23.1, and as far as I understand, all these bookfix branches are merged back to this. Do I misunderstand that, or?
New branches are merged in Garrett. That's simply a thing that never happens. So if your question if this branch is merged in that branch, the answer is no for any combination of branches.
But is the content of that branch available on the stable, if not merged. I
So
mean, if
stable branch is created at some point. It's well branched, and from that point on, it will only receive cherry picks of bug fixes. In similar vein as our bug branches here function. So 2023.1 was created somewhere in spring, and that's where it stopped receiving any features or non-bug additions. At that point, for a year and a half, it will receive bug fixes. That's it. If you follow that, you are going to be past any features that implemented after that. And that may be half a year worth of features.
Yeah, this is also what I think it was pointed out before, and it's also in one of my comments now in the in the proposal that you wrote down. Because the stable branches won't have new features, while the latest bug fix branches will. So that's also why we we chose bug fix branches instead of stable. I mean, we can have a mix of them and decide to go for the most recent one between stable or bug fix. But I'm not sure. I mean, following only stable, I don't think would be beneficial for our case.
Okay. Then it was okay. Now this is a bit clearer to me, because then the bug fixes are not branched out from the stable. They are branched out from the main. And then what confused me is that these bug fixes are mentioned on this branch on the stable. Like there are a bunch of stuff that just appears to be like cherry picked from the bug fix branch, and I thought that there was a policy that after some time after you close down the bug fix branch, you cherry pick the stuff or merge or whatever. Let's name it correctly, like cherry pick it back to the stable. But if it's not a policy that these won't ever land, just selected commits from that, then yeah, I get it. Okay.
I think like now I see where the entire thing comes from, and yeah, so yeah, the bug fix branches are cut directly from main, and we have a much we refresh them more often than the stable branches. Stable branches last for a long time, and they just get, as Dimitri said, just bug fixes, security fixes. That's all. While the bug fix branches are cut every like 3 months or something, if I remember correctly, and they have the very latest, not only bug fixes like the names would suggest, but also the latest features developed in that amount of time.
So for the sake of solving the actual problem we have, rather than discussing solutions, there are ways to solve what we are talking about, and one of way is we keep stuff as it is, but we find a way to test BMO, and end-to-end tests will come very handy in this conversation, where we test new BMO against a specially built ironic image that is using the previous stable branch. This way, we're not limiting ourselves to only the stable branch, but we make sure that if somebody uses the new version of BMO with a stable branch, it doesn't burst in flames horribly. Or if it does, we are aware of that and we kind of document that, yes, this is going to burst in flames. So be aware. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's something that's also like possible to do in a CI for sure. Like we can say that there is a test on that. Test I don't know, for example, runs these new PMO A2E tests with an ironic image build that uses the stable branch as just a test. Yeah, we can do it, but my main focus was only on the releasing, and okay, I'm fine with that. Like, yeah, we can follow the bug fix branches. That makes sense now that we discussed it. And the other thing is, though, that still I would suggest not limiting ourselves to X number of releases. I mean, but unless, so when you release a bug fix branch or cut the bug fix branch, will anything new land on the bug fix branch? When you say that, okay, we branch out, do you develop the stuff on that branch, or it's only cut and branched out and that's it, and that's done, and you just continue on the main?
So we keep developing on the main, and we should cherry pick and like every bug fix or every security fix as it happens for stable. But since we cut bug fix branches more often, we try to include the latest features that were developed in the last like 2 or 3 months in the new bug fix branch.
But there is no modification to the bug
The bug fix branch is, for all purposes, it's a stable branch. So we don't add features, we don't add API changes or stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, then yeah.
And yeah, just one thing I wanted to add. So I'll commit to write down the proposal during the next weeks as soon as possible, because I think we waited even too long, and I apologize, but like it was just a very messy summer. So yeah, in the next weeks I will write down the proposal for the ironic image branching. So we will have that. We can discuss there directly, and if there is anything more that we need to clear, we can do that there.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, my questions and stuff was answered. I will put back to or share back the other screen I have. Where was it? I think you should see do you see the Google Docs now?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay, so this stuff was discussed and I get it. So many things. I guess I won't do anything with it. I thought I will strike it out, but better to have the discussion visible. Okay, and then we have, I think, only one other stuff. It is, yeah, the inventory API patch. Oh, I have it actually open already.
Yep, that's the one we mentioned. It's currently on hold. I'd like to see what needs to be done to unblock it from now on, because the effort, the long or even now mid-term plan of the Ironic upstream is to get rid of Ironic Inspector as a separate thing, which I know is kind of breaking, but we have serious reasons to do that, and they're numerous. I can list if you're curious. You can just believe me. So first, I think Kashif asked if we could create a release. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, so first, let's please do a release before this merges, because that would be the last BMO release that supports the old API version. And then we had some discussions, Leonard. I would be curious if there's some action items coming out of this discussion, or we just want to make sure something happens or later, or what's the idea here?
Yeah, I think you explained it well in the PR. Not really much concerns from me anymore, but I wanted to make sure that people are aware that we are taking Go for Cloud, well, like not tagged commit. Sounds like it should not be an issue. So that's fine for me.
Yeah, we're gonna follow master for some time. Which I think we could have waited for 2.0, but that can take time. We would lack feedback to could provide still to Go for Cloud folks and what is going on. And honestly, I told Leonard the last time I talked to Go for Cloud about, hey folks, could you do release because we want to use it? They will like looked at me strangely and like, just use a Git commit hash. What are you talking about? Let's go. So I don't know. A different approach. I would love to have releases more often than just use releases, but apparently there are different takes on that. Yeah, and I'm afraid with 2.0 they're trying to fit any changes they wanted for such a major release, so it may take a bit more time. But I don't see risks for us, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, so I would say that let's just wait for the release. I have asked the release team to actually cut a release, and as soon as it's done, then probably we can move forward with this.
You mean BMO release, right? Not Go for Cloud.
No, BMO. So I have tagged the release team here for Metal Cube, who are actually handling the release. So one question. So how? What's the? I haven't actually read your latest answer to Leonard's concern, but what's the upgrade workflow? So if someone is using a BMO and then these changes land then what's the process that the current user would actually do the upgrade?
Well, the only thing you need to do is to make sure you're using Ironic 2023.1 on your so something from that previous table branch, as we discussed with Steve. There's no currently upgrade. So we're not removing Ironic Inspector yet, just to be clear. We want to do that. This change does not do that.
Yeah,
we just stop using its API directly. We use Ironic as an direction.
Okay.
So that's a step towards that goal, but Ironic Inspector is still there. It's still the backend.
Okay. But then wouldn't this at least count as a new feature, if not breaking?
I changed the icon.
You did. All right. Yeah. Then I guess it's clear. No more concerns. Then once the release is out, let's unhold and then move forward with this. And for this, if we do a release for BMO, I was just that's what I mentioned before, that then shouldn't we wait for the ironic pinning then? Because if we do a release with BMO, we'll just use some random release the ironic image, which will be tagged with BMO or CapM3 tag. I'm not sure how we release at the moment the ironic image, but it will be not reproducible. And at this case, we rely on the fact that before this feature goes in, there is a like before the feature goes in, we are compatible with a set of ironics. After the feature goes in, we are compatible with a smaller set of ironics API. So shouldn't this release be a good opportunity to use the new pinned ironic image, or the one that's actually pinned to some ironic release, and we know that this is the exact version, this still works? Because if we again just push a release as we do now, then we will have again like this weird way of releasing. I would even expedite the ironic stuff, even start using this this pinning and the branching for the ironic image, even if the proposal is not ready yet, because I feel that this is very important now to push through this ironic image pinning and branching. And it would be good if this new BMO release would already use that. Like first we release an ironic image with a pinned ironic version, and then we release the BMO that already refers to this.
Sorry, I understand the importance of making this work happen, but first I don't want to hurry it. Second, it doesn't make any sense to delay this patch. It doesn't change anything compared to all the releases that we have done in the past with the same problem present since the beginning of Metal3.
That's true.
And that is
also.
going to delay this patch by weeks or even months, depending on how it goes. Which will create a backlog of things that will happen because ironic changes will keep piling in the background.
Yeah, I see your point also.
So one question though, since the good point raised by Adam, the way we actually do the release is that we tag the BMO and then also that we tag the ironic image with a capm3 prefix. But then if someone is using that, as Adam said, since it's not pinned, it would at some point be using like a different version of ironic. And then although it's that the user is using the same tag, would this be at some point breaking for the user because he's using an older BMO and newer ironic? Or the other way around?
Shouldn't be breaking. So ironic is, in many regards, ironic is pretty serious about backward compatibility. We had a bit of a drama around MD5, but we essentially reverted that because of our backward compatibility promise. The problem that you described definitely exists and has existed since, well, forever. That's a problem that needs solving. That's what Ricardo is going to be doing in the coming weeks or months. We have not had any evidence of such breakages so far, probably because ironic is taking backward compatibility quite seriously. But we need to fix that, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay. I think we are all on the same page. And there is not much to do. Actually, I'm not sure if we specify that how many BMO releases will we support. I don't remember. But if we deprecate the upcoming, like the future BMO releases getting deprecated faster than the ironic backport compatibility would deprecate, then we would be fine.
Yeah, one more question to Dimitri. Like, do you have any plan when this would be deprecated? This ironic inspector support from BMO? Do you have any proposal around this, or it might be good to actually document that so that we can also start adding this in the release log, so that users would be knowing that this would be deprecated in some upcoming release.
That's a good point. So here's a situation. Ironic inspector is not deprecated yet anywhere. We are working. Mahnuk, who is not here, is working on feature compatibility, feature parity, sorry, between the implementation inside ironic and the old ironic inspector. This is going to take a few months still. So that's the point. Let's say early 2024, ironic issues a deprecation notice for ironic inspector. That's the point where we probably also deprecate or completely remove this support from BMO. We may. So I'm probably going to write down a Metal3 docs proposal, design proposal for the exact process. We may be able for some time to support both.
That's great. Yeah, thanks a lot if you can do that.
Yeah, let's actually do it in writing and let's actually discuss it there. Just If I do write it, please do review it.
Yeah, sure.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask or comment on this inventory API support? Okay, if not, then I have another thing. This was discussed under my PXC issue, but I can I? Yeah, I think quickly bring that up. Not even the it's just to have some concept for this. Yeah, so long story short, we agreed that I will create this Pixie builder in a separate container, and that will live under resources in the Ironic image, and will be separate from the Ironic image, which is all fine and good. I'm already have it locally, just integrating it into the dev. And then in this last discussion, I was proposing, but then I will ask now in the committee meeting that, in my opinion, it's all good. And in my opinion, we should bring the IPA downloader, the Ironic client, and even the MariaDB under this. So this one and this one, and I will check. Yeah, and this one under the Ironic image, same into the resources. And when we start releasing and versioning the Ironic image, like in the way that we discussed, I would like these to receive the same version. And basically we test everything together. So, okay, there are these utility stuff like Ironic client that we don't use much, but MariaDB, the IPA downloader, all the others who already are there, those are deployed together and tested together. So it wouldn't be any harder for the CI, and we would have like some usable version on these utility stuff also. And for this agent image, I feel that we should get rid of this. And I wanted to write an email to the mailing list, but basically everyone who is actively working, almost everyone is here and will watch the video if not here. There is this agent image. We are not using this, and this is actually forced from your branch, Dimitri, and this is way behind the actual OpenShift stuff. So in OpenShift, whoever is using that, I suppose many people, they are way ahead of this. So, and we don't use it in the upstream. So in my opinion, this has to be deprecated. So two things, utility stuff would go under the Ironic image resources and would be versions with the same version as the Ironic image, and this would go away. Is there any objection to this?
Yep. I have no objections to versioning things the same way. I actually have pretty hard objections to merging stuff in the repositories. And actually, my long-term plans involves the opposite thing, actually start splitting Ironic image apart. Though kind of selfish reasons for me is because it's probably going to make, if we bring, for example, MariaDB and API downloads under Ironic, it's going to make life for us downstream a nightmare, because our tooling will have hard time managing several Docker files per repository. Because, you know, the standard way, and that's not just an OpenShift thing, like many people manage containers this way, one repo, one container. That's not something we invented. It's kind of unwritten best practice, or I don't know, maybe it's written somewhere. So it's more straightforward for people to contribute to, right? If they say, we say quay.io /metalcube/ MariaDB, they know they go look MariaDB image. If you have /ironic, we have go to Ironic image, DNS mask, hopefully in the future, DNS mask image. Ironic client, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of feel like we're gonna have a repository that serves many goals, and we'll make harder to work with downstream, and we also break some relationship. For example, if we fork IPA downloader and you delete the repo, now we no longer have a fork, and any changes between OpenShift and upstream will have to, follow a weird pattern from now on. Even if we manage to make our tooling actually understand several Docker files per repo. So yeah, I'd honestly rather prefer we go the other direction. Although I do agree that we should version them together. And by the way, I do agree that ironic agent image should be gone from upstream because, yeah, we never managed to make an upstream deliverable out of that.
Okay.
Just to I don't have anything to add. I basically agree 100% to what Dimitri said. And also, for example, the page that we have open now, the resources, I'm definitely not a fan of it to have it there. It should be definitely in separate repos. But I guess we have tolerated that so far, and that's okay, or we can revisit that as well.
Okay, it's fine from my side because I'm just starting this, so I can turn into another direction and say that I can propose a rule or convention that in every case, because then I won't align myself and the proposer with this. Instead, what you mentioned that we put every image into a separate repo, fine, we can go into that direction. And then I will propose that into maybe the Metacube docs would be the good place to have it in like an as like a convention. It's not really like repo specific. So yeah, okay, I will put it there, and then I will create issues probably to move these out. And then I'm happy that then you agree with the versioning so that we can version this stuff together. And then we can remove the agent image. Good. Okay, I can go this way. And one thing I wanted to ask related to this, there was another image which we yeah, this one, like I think we once asked that, is anyone using this? And
it's a bit interesting. I think it's used by Arne from CERN, who is not using Metacube. So he's just using this image. And if you want to get rid of that, I can ask him again if he wants to take that over somehow and move to his own location.
yeah, it would be better. I remember that this person was the only one who replied that it's still in use, and the last actual functional feature commits were from this person. So yeah, it would be better if we wouldn't need to host this, because it's just weird. Okay, I think it's all good. We agreed what to do.
Question. Did I hear correctly, Dimitri, that you were mentioning about IPA download and that it's a fork of something, the Metal3 one?
Well, it's just I was explaining the general pattern. So OpenShift stuff is mostly forks of Metal3 stuff. So we follow this upstream downstream relationship between repositories.
Okay.
So we have a local we have a fork of ironic image. We will have probably fork of MariaDB image. We have fork of IPA downloader, and I guess per meta operator, a few other things. Just
Okay. Yeah, I understood that the way around, but yeah, okay.
yeah, forks not in the sense that we're developing feature in it. It's something hidden features. Just we track releases this way.
Yep.
Yep, I think it's clear. Okay, thanks. I think we are out of time. I checked the triaging beforehand because I kind of expected to have some discussion, and I have one stuff that I wanted to actually. Most of this I haven't changed. It's I said this Pixie host stuff. I wrote some more elaborate explanation and set it to invalid actually. But what were to discuss is Leonard's proposal. I agree with it. This is about changing how we use customizations for the BMO. Are you, Leonard, here still? Yeah, can you quickly explain?
Yeah, this is about how we deploy BMO and Ironic. So currently there is the deploy script, which is basically generating secrets, or you can create them yourself, of course, for credentials for basic auth, or it can make some. I think it can make some changes to certificates probably also, if I remember correctly. The point is that the deploy script is not just taking the customization or manifests as they are and deploying them. It's making some changes that makes it buildable, and then it deploys it. So as they are in the repo, they are not buildable. You cannot do customize build and it works. Some of them will work, like the default one that doesn't have any credentials or anything. But if you add on basic auth and TLS, then you will have errors for there is no such file, something like that. So I added two options here that I see how to handle it. If I take the number 2 there first, is to just provide example credentials. Then obviously it works because they are there in the repo. But that is not so nice, I would say, from security point of view, because there is too high risk that you end up actually deploying those example credentials instead of something real. So then I would say the first option here, that's the preferred one, where we remove the secret generator from the customization. So it will not create the secret, and hence it will not have any issue with that file missing that it tries to create it from. But we keep all the rest the same. So for example, for when we add basic auth, we add, I think that it's probably environment and variables that we add. We add those, and they are the same. So we will expect that there is a secret there. The pod will not work without that, but Customize is not the one creating it. How you would then use it is either you, as a user, you create your own overlay, Customize, where you add this secret, or you have some completely different way to do it. Maybe you just create the secret manually. The point is it doesn't really break anything. The pods will stay pending until they have what they need. So you can basically then deploy first, then you create the secret, and then they will start. And the issue should be pretty self-explanatory. If you see the pod pending, it will say that it's missing a secret. So just create it. Yep, that's about it.
I do expect some people to still get confused, but otherwise I agree with everything you said. It should be usable. I hope at some point we finish our own copywriter and some of these problems are gone, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
I agree with the solution essentially. Just let's make sure we document it properly.
Yeah.
We actually have FAQ now, right, on the website. So maybe we add it there. Or we have at least collecting ideas for FAQ.
Yeah, and definitely I expect that we would also update the user guide for how to deploy it. I know that there is some issue with what we have. I think currently there is some description of how to deploy Ironic that doesn't work, and then there is some reference to deploy scripts. So it's, yeah, I hope we can clean it up with this.
Okay, great, thanks. I have set it to accept it if there are no objections. Okay, and just quickly. Oh yeah, and that was one other, but sorry, that we have to really check. There was this discussion about the relationship between the secrets and the credential secrets and the BMHs themselves, and we kind of got a critique related to the architecture here, which basically means that in greater Kubernetes context, ownership is only there if one object creates the other, not like this that one just uses the other. And at least that was what I understood from this, and that we shouldn't delete the credential secret if the BMH goes away because the BMH has not created it, and not even BMO. So I don't know if this will be like a back and forth argument, or I don't know what you, the community, think about this. Like, should we go another direction with this handling of the secrets or cleaning away the secrets? Because it's not supposedly not the common way to do in Kubernetes in general, or should we keep our way of doing this?
I think I agree with the reasoning that they provided about what ownership means and what does not. So we should probably change that, but keeping in mind that it's, in a sense, a breaking change, right? If you get used to the fact that your BMC credentials are cleaned up after you remove the bare metal host, as leaving BMC credentials, which are very sensitive pieces of information, may be an hasty surprise. So we need to communicate that pretty well, not just treat it as an internal bug fix.
Yep, I'm fine either way. So in this form, in this context, is it okay to accept this? Is there anyone against accepting this? So my question is that should we accept the issue as it is, or should we say that we have a slightly different approach and we create our own issue, or can this go and completely implement what the issue creator is asking for? Because for me this still seems like this seems reasonable.
I at least agree with the reply from Zain that it shouldn't be lying around when the VMH is not there anymore. So I'm not sure in which type of situation this is more desirable. I haven't actually gone through the actual description of the issue.
Because if you are more likely to like Zain just explained how this works and why it works like that, but we don't have an answer yet to the objection, or that why it is not the best way to do it, or why it is not the Kubernetes way of doing it. So I guess then,
Well, as far as I understand, the Kubernetes way of doing it is that if the owner of an object is gone, then the object is gone itself through the
Yeah.
owner reference change, isn't it?
Yeah. But the thing here, what is disputed is that bit technically don't own it, because only one object should own the other if that object created it. So, and it is not created by the PMO. Oh, they are just linked together, as far as I understand from this.
Yeah, now I got it. Yes.
I don't know. I will bring you here because we have not given a clear answer to this, and I see the point of both sides. So I cannot accept or decline this in good faith. So we would need some conclusion to this discussion. So if you have anything to add, Zain has been Kashif, and then Leonard, and then who should I ping here? Who that might have something to, because Dimitri, you are present here. I know this issue. Kashif, do you have any idea who should I ping here?
Well, no, I don't have any idea who should.
Okay, I
Maybe,
ping.
yeah, just keep at least the BMO maintainers linked so that everybody is aware of what's happening.
I think I will. I think that's enough people. Okay. I think that's all for today. If you don't have anything else, if there are no suggestion, problem, improvement, or question, and then that was it. So thanks for your time, and sorry this was a bit too long, and let's meet next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Adam.